I always thought I'm invincible. My life should be impactful. Whatever you're seeking is seeking you. The purpose of life is helping each other grow.
Welcome back, investor. We have another episode of Passive Income Adventures, the show where we teach you how to get more financial freedom and time freedom so you can go on more adventures. Vinky Loomba is our guest today. Vinky, you're really just an example of thinking about financial freedom, personal finance, and being able to turn that into a life full of adventure. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Emma, for having me on your show. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. I want to reciprocate. I went on your show before I had a show, and then I wanted to go back and just have everybody that interviewed me on my show, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I was waiting until I don't know if I could make sure that I make you look good. So I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing with us your own journey in financial freedom. For those of you who don't know Vinky, I don't know who doesn't know. You're one of those people that when people hear your name, you have that rare thing where everybody has something good to say about you. And even if
Wow.
I know you, I'm sure you must have disagreements and problems just like anybody else does, but the way that you handle them and resolve them, that's really where people's good opinion comes in. It's, oh, if there's ever an issue or whatever, it's not that she's so nice or whatever. Like, you're just great to work with. They really have a lot of faith in your integrity. And that's the kind of people that I love to associate with and the kind of people I love to have on the show. And when we were in California last summer, you're like, come to my house. And we park our RV on your sidewalk. You gave us your guest bedroom. We hung out. You loved on my kids. You took us out to dinner. And we just had so many wonderful conversations with you and your husband. And that's the kind of thing that you can't really find just if you stay inside your own little world. When we met through this capital raising business that we each own, it's not like we're in competition. It's collaborative. We talk and we learn. And so this is really like the beauty of networking and this industry that requires so much collaboration to do such huge projects. And you really embody that. So tell me a little bit more about yourself, like how you told me so much about your personal history when we were visiting, but tell me, give me like a professional rundown of where you started down this path, some of the turning points, aha moments that you had, and where your business has evolved to where you are today.
Okay, so where you wanted to start? Way back when I came here.
On a cold winter night when your mother knew that she would have a baby. No, maybe not that far back, but
I'm going to talk about that. My journey actually started in real estate investing. That was alongside my long career of IT and academia. Like I mentioned to you multiple times, maybe, that I started my career in IT when I landed in this country because my husband was an IT professional. Even though I wanted to become a professor, I got enrolled in Berkeley for my PhD, but then we started family because life has something really sweet in store for us. So my husband said, "Why don't you try the business side of the world and see how you like it?" So that's how I got started, the IT side of it. And then I started climbing the corporate ladder, and I got a chance to do my executive MBA over here. So as soon as I completed my executive MBA, I got a chance to teach. So I became an adjunct professor with my primary job, and which I really enjoyed it, right? So I had two titles. And then at the same time, we built our second home. So when we built our second home, we were in a position to rent the first one. So by
mm,
default, we became the landlords and
yes.
we learned to provide some income. So we started multiplying that. And I think this all kind of spurred the desire for a financial freedom outside our 9 to 5 job. And we realized that how much we can do and how real estate investing is so powerful.
So when you first started with that first rental, because I actually hear a lot of people say that either house hacking, where they're renting out a portion of their house or their garage, or like with us, our RV pad, or you move into another house and you have the house, you're like, we don't have to sell it because we had the down payment for the next house to be able to keep this one. Personally tried to do that every time we would sell a house because we were in the nomad, like you buy a house brand new, you let it appreciate, and then you move on to the next one, and we always try to keep the one we had, but we never had enough down payment to get a payment to where we could afford the mortgage, and I never really felt like we had an emergency fund where if something went wrong with the rental, we had at least 6 months to pay the mortgage, things like that. So we ended up just never keeping them, even though we knew that was a good path and plan for us. I just never really felt like we could save up enough money to be able to do that. So while we were able to upgrade our houses by trading the equity from one to the next one, I didn't feel like we were making any real progress until we finally got to the point where we made enough money on one house that we were able to then buy two houses with it. And that was where things really started to change. So how did you land on that first one? Were you just like, did you know, were you saving up so we could make a down payment and keep that as a rental? Or was it just good personal finance? And you just, when you went to go move, you're like, we can have this down payment. We don't need to sell this house to do this. So walk us through what that looked like. So, because I think most of our listeners, even though they really want to be passive investors, it's a good idea for most people to have a couple of rental houses. And so getting into that, I think would be really helpful.
I think initially we did that too because equity portion is like really good for the people, and then just that 1031 cheese right there, all that. But when we built our second home, we did the ground up because that's the house that you visited actually. We bought the land and we built a kind of semi customized home. And then we were in a position with both of us working full time. We had surplus cash on our hands, or surplus, you can say, income, that we were able to afford two mortgages in case our tenants didn't show up or they just left us stranded or something like that. We were okay with that scenario. I think that's the reason. And the plus other thing was the market was not that great to sell our house at that time.
Mhm.
Because when we bought our house, we bought the interest rate was like
Oh,
9.75 or
wow.
something like that. It was like early 90s. I'm talking about the single family home
Mhm.
because before that we were like in the townhouse or the condominiums. And then it was a really high interest rate. So that didn't make sense for us to sell the home. I think that's the reason it triggered us to rent it. So
Mm.
when we rented that and all of a sudden we are getting a positive cash flow, even though it was like for $500, it was like a lot of money. It's like passive income without doing anything and mortgage is being paid. That's what we like about it. And that's how we started multiplying. And then we got, a few more. And then, but we have funny stories too with the tenants too. It's not always great to be a property manager or I will call it like a slum landlord. That's
Yeah.
the
No.
title we gave ourselves because it was super hard for us keeping our full-time jobs between me and my husband, two young kids, and this managing these properties. It was a nightmare. And that's what I joke with my husband all the time. Like, gosh, you didn't know that there's something called property management company exists? Because the thing is, we wanted to do it. Everything's like DIY. Why pay somebody else if you can do it? So that's where you get burned out, and then you feel like, okay, it's not my cup of tea. I need to move away from this scenario.
Yeah, and we were in the same position when I would manage our own small rentals because when I started real estate investing, I went straight to real estate professional. Like I didn't have another job. I left my business back in Texas when we moved to Utah. So we started buying up properties and they told us that the best tax benefits would be if one spouse was a real estate professional and the other was working. So one was getting great tax benefits, great income from this, and the other one was getting that steady W-2 income. So I basically just went straight to that. And so because I was a real estate professional, I had to manage some of my own properties to
Mhm.
justify
Mhm.
like I am actually working in this. My accountant recommended that we only would put a property manager on a property if it was like really large. So that's
Mhm.
one of the reasons we were doing apartment complexes because I didn't want to run my own property management company for 50, 90 single family rentals, which I knew is what we would need if we really wanted to be like wealthy from the cash flow, not the appreciation's a different thing. But
Mhm.
then you eventually got into where you're not working as far as like being employed and being a full-time real estate as well. So what are you doing right now as far as career-wise? And then how did you transition out of those W-2 roles into what you're both doing now?
So, see, I think when I was young in 20s, I always thought I'm invincible. So, just having my primary W-2 job and plus my teaching profession, that was not it for me. And having our small little portfolio, 2 4 years, whatever we had. Beside that, what I did was I got my rental license. Remember, I told you I
Mm.
learned about the passive income flow. I'm like, oh my God, this is super easy to make money. Let's say it was a second job, like I didn't already have enough in my plate. And then I started selling businesses.
Oh,
I didn't want to sell homes some odd reason, and I think the attraction on going towards business was because I had a business background, and being a corporate employee, I knew how the businesses work, and I went through so many mergers with my
mhm.
company. So I understood the process, how the system side merger works, and that's what my initial intention was when I moved into multifamily syndications. I wanted to go into merger and acquisitions but I stumbled upon multifamily. I end up in the multifamily space. So the long story short, and I was doing this on the weekends, the retailer, and I started investing on the retail side too a little bit, like businesses, gas stations or food chains or whatever, liquor stores maybe, and like super busy. And I recall that one instance, we were traveling a lot too. Those days, there was no VPN or remote working. If you recall those days, early 2000s. And I remember I just came back from Chile from some business trip. And then I put my bags down. My husband was on his way out to his business trip. And he told me on the way out, I think you're invincible. I believe in you. Whatever you think, you can do everything. But where kids are suffering, you need to put a lid on it. Either you pick your corporate job, or you wanted to be a real estate person, just become a real estate broker or agent, whatever you wanted to do. Just pick one. You cannot do 20 things at one time. I was like, okay. And then I put my real estate career on the back burner. So fast forward, my position was eliminated a few years back, like 7 years back. My position at my company that eliminated, they moved to New York. I had the option to move or find something else within the company. So I didn't find anything comparable. So I thought I'll take on early retirement. So I took the early retirement. So with me, who always wanted to do 100 things at one time, then the idea of just getting retired was like really daunting, I think you can
Yeah.
say. First, I thought I can just travel. So we traveled for a year. Me and my husband, we just traveling all over the world. And one time we just came back from Egypt, and I just woke up 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning, and I had this strong epiphany. If I die right now, what the heck did I do in this world? Whatever I did, I just did for myself. Me, myself only. That's it. So I did not make any difference. So if I die right now, all the education, all the knowledge, all the experiences, everything is gone. It's over. It's done. And I just woke up with a strong feeling that I have to make a difference,
Mhm.
and my life should be impactful. So my kids, they've started this nonprofit back days. It's called Satya Shakti, on the name of my mom and my mother-in-law. So I revamped them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start pumping money into this privately held nonprofit. I'm going to start supporting women and kids in
Mhm.
India. We work with the local NGOs over there and support multiple initiatives there. So then I'm like, okay, how do I bring more funds now? Because I wasn't working. There's a limit to your savings too. So then
Mhm.
I was to do something. So then I started investing again in real estate. We were doing passively. So then I turned into an active investor, and that happened by default too. See, like you heard this Rumi's term, like he says, whatever you're seeking is seeking you.
Yeah.
And then I was seeking to do more. And one of my partners who I invested with, they offered me to be a partner in one of the deals. So that's how my active real estate investing business started. And I launched my company, Loomba Investment Group. And now we have done multiple syndications. And now we have done three full cycles. And on a really good trajectory, really happy about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting path that you took because a lot of people we have a lot of Gen Z listeners on this podcast because Gen Z just loves podcasts. So they're
Right.
trying to figure out this passive income thing and they are getting sucked in by the passive income business. Start something, teach an online course. And I'm like, that's not passive, right? You have to create the thing, then you have to continually market it. And I think that they're just getting sick and tired of basically buying courses on how to create passive income when they realize passive income isn't generated through running some sort of a business, even a hands off business. But you got to the point in your life where you were like, I've had professional success. I've got some real estate. Like, I know what I'm doing there. I'm satisfied with that. I don't really have to keep working because you had enough investments that you can think about, but you're really looking for purpose in your life and this nonprofit, and you just wanted to make more money so that you could support this cause more. It's a unique path because most people are younger, trying to not do all the W-2 years. They just want to be entrepreneurs. And so you didn't
Right.
come at it in that direction. You almost were like, I can serve now. I can make a difference now. I'm in the point in my life where I want to just contribute, but I want to be able to donate more money. So you went out and created an entrepreneurial journey to support your philanthropic journey, which is normally
Really are.
entrepreneurs so we can become philanthropists.
That's true. But the thing is, I just feel like now that we can do that in any point of our life. Not necessarily that you have to wait 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, then you say all of a sudden I'm a philanthropist at this point of my life now. But I
Mhm.
think this is just like a bigger part of our life, adding value to other lives around us. Because
Mhm.
what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is helping each other grow. And the only problem is that we forget our purpose when we are in this chaos called life because we
Mhm.
are get entangled within our own belief system, which has been taught to us or put on us by the society, by the family, by the friends. Because whatever we see, we start doing that. And there's a lot of competition, comparison. He has this or who has this. I don't have that kind of thing. So if you just start thinking about the bigger picture and just think, what is my purpose here? Is to work collaboratively, just work together, just create that unison, and create that space for everyone around me. You will get whatever you want. And I didn't know that either. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it's too bad you get wiser when you get older.
Just waiting on the living.
Exactly. You don't know. You have to go back and change something. I will change that. I will add that into my lifestyle from day one. Even though we were helping so many nonprofits when I was working too, I was the board member of multiple of them. And we
Mhm.
used to take our kids homeless shelters and all that because we wanted to sow that seed in them so that when they're growing up, they're taking portion of their salary, whatever they're making, they're just trying to make a difference other lives around them in
Mhm.
whatever way they can. So
Yeah.
we were trying to instill that, but still think that if we start doing that from very early on, things happen exponentially, basically. Because you don't even feel like you're working. It just feels like you are there on a cause or on a purpose, and then things are happening. You're sitting back and seeing the magic happening, basically.
That they can use to donate to somebody else's nonprofit. And so for you going the nonprofit route and basically running your own organization, that just shows me that you're an entrepreneur at heart. Like I'm not actually an entrepreneur. Like people think that I am because I have never had a W-2. I run businesses, right? I'm an investor. I want to let patience and delayed gratification pay me back. I don't want to start my own nonprofit. I didn't even want to start my own business. Honestly, the reason I did it is because I just saw a hole or where I could help some of my business partners start a really cool business. I just want to work with other people and support other people's nonprofits. And so when you're looking at that, when you get to the point like when you're like, hey, I don't know, I want to keep running this thing. It's a lot of work. It's like having a job or having a business. What do you see as the trajectory of that philanthropic effort and how long term is that? Is it something you wanna pass down to your daughter, or what does that look like in the future?
So my vision for it is for a long time. I had this vision for my nonprofit. It's just like I wanted to put in on an autopilot. My daughter and her kids or whatever, it's just like for generations is running, just making a difference. So right now we support multiple charitable cause, like I said, and we work with local NGOs in India so that
Mhm,
we do not have any overhead expense. So whatever we are donating or whatever we're trying to do, 100% goes for the cause. And
mhm,
we do not have any board of directors or anything like that because it's a privately held small nonprofit. We are not too
mhm,
big either. We're very like a tiny little drop in the ocean, or the tiniest, I would say. But it gives me so much happiness by doing that. And the other thing is, investors, we do not take any money from anybody. Our
mhm.
investors, by default, they're part of this cause.
Okay.
We just try investing with us because they invest with us. We do not take anything from them, not even a penny. But we take our profit share and we take portion of that and our friends. Because
Yeah.
just think about that. Even if you're supporting some eye surgery clinic and then they're giving eyesight to one person, even one person a year, not even too
Yeah.
many, think that how you touch somebody's life. And my goal is to touch 1 million lives in this lifetime before I exit. And first, I used to think, oh my God, this is a really big goal. And I used to feel so happy talking about it and telling everybody, I wanted to touch 1 million lives. And one time I was talking to this billionaire with B.
Mhm,
And you know what he told me? He said, what is your goal in life? I said, my goal in life is to touch 1 million lives in a meaningful way, whether through my philanthropic efforts or through providing the financial independence or creating passive income or wealth
mhm.
generation for the people who are looking for that kind of wealth building strategies. I wanted to help them. And you know what he told me? He told me, why so small goal? Might have already touched 1 million lives. He said, there's a trillion people in the world. Why so small goal? And that made me feel like, oh my God, I'm so small. I'm just like tiniest little drop in the ocean, and all of a sudden you feel like almighty, oh my God, I'm this, I'm that, which is not. So I think that's where that sense of fulfillment comes when you ground yourself to that level.
Yeah. Oh, such a good story. Like one of my business partners, his grandfather was a multi-billionaire and he's since passed away. Listening to the billionaire lessons that he passed down to his grandson, who now shares them with me, it's just a very different perspective on life, a very different mindset. And he told me one time, he said, "The mindset issues that you're dealing with, can I do this? Do I deserve it? If I wanna make a big impact, does that make me a narcissist? Like, can I even do what I wanna do? Like, what who am I to do this?" All those things that you struggle with. Because I don't struggle with any of that. I know that I can do it, and I know that I deserve it.
That's
And
it.
so I just go out and do it. And we waste so much time treading water or wasting time rocking in the rocking chair instead of getting on the horse and just riding. And so he's really taught me a similar kind of a lesson. It's just like, what do you want to do? How big can you think? And just go do it and stop wasting time with the self doubt and just make it happen. So that's an important lesson could really take to heart how much time we waste with
For
junk in our
sure.
head.
Sure, I agree with you 100% because the thing is, the people who are wealthier, who are richer, they think differently. Their thought are totally different because they have that freedom. They do not think. They're always thinking outside the box. Just think about it for a second. Why they have that liberty to do that?
Mhm.
The thing is, average person like you and me, we're on the hamster wheel. We just think we have a thought, all the thoughts coming to our mind. That's it. That's what who we are, right? This thought comes, we're just writing this thoughts, okay, this way or that way, that happens, that will happen, could have, should have, would have, whatever, all that we are doing. If we calm all those down, if we're just creating this wealth building strategies for us, following that, or having this multiple passive income streams, we have created that financial independence for ourselves. We call it time freedom, location freedom, or financial freedom. We have that. We are creating that space in our mind, that space where the creativity is going to start because
Mhm.
you're calm, you're not on the hamster wheel. So then suddenly you get an idea, and that idea people are going to think, oh, this is out of the box. So that's what happened with all these people because their cup is full and they have that space in their mind. And that's what my nonprofit is all about because they wanted to bring the next meal on the table for the people, for the kids and the women, or those something for them that they are on the hamster wheel for, so that we can create that tiniest space in their mind that they can think of something else to get off this hamster wheel and make their lives better. The
Yeah.
whole idea for my nonprofit is to go on autopilot in a way so we can support them and they are self sufficient to generate enough income from themselves to support them and also support the other people around them. So that's why we're working on this idea now. So that way the money does not stop there. Usually you donate and it ends right there, and then next project you're looking for more. So we wanted to get out of that scenario and kind of create a scenario where this self-supporting and then see if we can bring in the real estate feature, real estate investing feature in that somehow, that the money is rolling back and forth. And then we are able to support more people. But we are not even close to that. It's far-fetched idea right now.
Yeah. That's you need that kind of vision. And since your kids are the ones who came up with the nonprofit to start with, it just makes sense that once they get to that part of their lives where they can take a break from all of the things that they're doing and just being able to say, okay, through medical school, we're seeing our kids are out of diapers, whatever. You are creating something that they can just step right back into now that your daughter and her husband can start being thinking like this legacy that they are going to create and watching you do it. Again, it's like what my partner watching his grandpa do this. And especially when you're related or you were raised by them, you're like, well, they're not really that much different than I am. Like if they can do it, I can do it. And that sense of self-confidence and that sense of purpose is definitely something that you can pass down. And one thing I like about when I'm spending time with you, you spend a lot of time on mindset. You spend a lot of time on meditation and just figuring out like the why behind things. And part of the show, as I always say, I want people to understand like 80-ish, maybe 90% of what we do is that mindset, is that belief that I can figure it out, I can learn, I can meet the people I need to meet if I just keep going. And maybe 10 to 20% is the nuts and bolts of the actual techniques, tactics, strategies, things like that. So let's shift over to that 10 or 20%. I think that we could maybe have an entire interview where we're talking about the tactics of the mindset because people say 80 mindset and 20 techniques, and they don't really think about mindset has its own set of 80/20 mindset tactics of use.
Sure, that's for
But
sure.
it's a skill that we have to develop if we weren't raised to
Mhm.
think that way. But tell me what you're working on right now. I know that things have been strange lately with the economy and the election's now over. We're just basically starting to see some of the policies that are being projected and how that's going to affect the economy and investor confidence. And walk me through the last couple of months. Me raising capital, I've been very transparent about it. I was never really good at raising capital before. And so I didn't really notice that much of a difference as things started to shift. It was just still hard. And so when people start talking about, oh, I was so successful raising capital in 2019 or 2020, and now I've had to shift and basically find another business or pivot because it's just all dried up. And I hear it again and again how difficult it is to raise capital. But I see that kind of freeze is starting to go away now that we have some clarity moving forward. Have you seen the same trend the last couple of months? And are you seeing that same feeling of thawing where investors are saying, maybe we need to get in on the slow part of the cycle?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. Right now, people are sitting on the money. They were like holding tight and didn't want to do. They're sitting on the sidelines, but now they are ready to invest. So now
Mhm.
they're looking for the deals because they have a little bit clarity now with Trump being the president now. Even if it was Kamala, it should have been okay too because they have the
There's some
clarity.
clarity.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, some be there. So it was so much uncertainty before which way we're gonna go, what's gonna happen, and the market was not good with the pandemic. A lot of things happened in the past 3, 4, 5 years, and the conditions were not that good. So now people are feeling like, okay, we are still like a little bit hazy, not 100% stabilized yet, but we are getting to the point where we're starting seeing some stabilization, or there's gonna be a little bit things gonna start getting better with the interest rate cuts and all that too. So now they are looking to invest and but they're looking for solid deals. They're looking for deals
Mhm.
with a cash flow day one. And I have seen that. I can talk from that experience that when the deal is giving them the cash flow day one, they are more interested in that versus
Mhm.
looking for development deals where they will not see any returns for the 3, 3, 4, 5 years. Or sometimes they say 18 months, 24 months, but sometimes it takes longer because there's a lot of delays we are seeing on the construction side as well. So
Yeah.
that's the difference I'm seeing now. So because I just raised for one deal that we closed in September, and we did see a lot of traction for that. And we're ready to start the distributions this month. That deal was that strong. So
Mhm.
those are deals people like.
So you're seeing that people are more interested. It's like the cash flow to me is like the credibility prover. If
Mhm.
the investors are getting distributions, and what we do with private lending, we could pay out monthly, quarterly, or in a balloon, depending on how much money the investors put in. They get to decide like how they want their
Uh-huh.
payment structure to work. But as every time you cut a check or send a transfer to an investor, you're putting credibility in their trust bank so that they might want to invest with you again. And so right now, trust is just very low. And you're right, like development deals. First of all, development. I was seeing some decent development deals like a year ago, but now it seems like just a lot of them are bogged down and really struggling, and even when they're coming online, their absorption is not as high as they thought it would be. Like, development is it's definitely more risky, and I'm seeing people are just like, "Show me the money, show me that you can do what you say you're gonna do," and the only way they can really know that is if you're paying them, and so, are you seeing the value add? Because those heavy value adds are almost like a development deal. It's a long time before investors see distribution. So are you just having to find stuff where it's a very light physical value add, it's a management takeover, or
Uh-huh.
the owner's in trouble? What are those deals? Where are they coming from and what do they look like?
Yeah, no, you're right about that because the heavy lift is just like a development. But
Mhm,
sometimes it's good deal because if it's below the replacement cost, it makes sense to invest in that deal.
mhm,
Even there's no cash flow upfront, I would say obviously this is the right time to still invest. And if I'm getting a equity deal still, I would like to diversify because I'm just
mhm,
getting equity only. I might want to diversify. And I like construction or new development as well because I do have few deals of that too, because those are the class A. You,
mhm.
I just feel like, it might take a little bit longer to stabilize those, but still, you're going to be ahead of the game by the end of the day. If you have the bandwidth, it's all about the risk, how much risk you can take. That's where we are at this point now. It's not about going right or wrong. This is like more like how much risk you can take. And if your risk appetite is like a little bit better than the others, I would say, yeah, just go in. You'll be happy. This is the time to invest. That's the way I look at it. And I hear that from a lot of people, a lot of investors, well, the seven investors, they're looking for like really good deals in the good markets. And then they're looking for the strong operators as well who can take the deals from conception to completion. Because most of the time, if the jockey is strong, you're going to be winning the race no matter what.
Yeah,
So that's
that's what
very
you're
important.
we learned that in sports, right? I used to joke when we lived in Austin, there was this particular football team that won state championship year after year. I'm thinking, those boys who were freshmen and then varsity and graduated and moved on, and they're still winning state championships, that coach is doing this year after year with a different team. Every year, he's got a different team because his kids are graduating, moving on. He's got the new people coming in, yet he continues to create a top-notch, award-winning program. It's not about the property. It's not even about the location, really. If you a good coach or a good operator, a good jockey knows how to pick out a good location. He knows how to pick out a good building, and you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. You just need to get in with a winning program, and I think that's a concept most and but for whatever reason, I think people get tied up with like, "Oh, this person, he's all over my YouTube ads, and so he must know what he's doing. Like, I'm gonna give him money." They don't know how to underwrite the deal, which is a problem. But the bigger problem is they don't know how to underwrite the operator. So when you're talking about a strong operator who knows what they're doing, what should the limited partner be looking at to make sure that they're getting the good jockey, the good coach, the good program? Because they are like, am I going to run a background check on everybody? I don't know anybody else investing in this kind of stuff. I can't ask for referrals. When I went to my lawyer and my accountant about it, they hate private equity because they can't sell me anything. And they're like, oh, no, you should definitely not do it. So they don't really have anywhere to go for good resources on how to make sure they're getting in with a good team. So what should they be looking for?
That's where it comes to relationship. People talk about that I am a capital raiser or I am that, whatever the title people pick for themselves. And they are really like, okay, this is like a sales job. I would say this is a relationship game.
Mhm.
And that's what I see all the time. Somebody asks me, what kind of business are you? And I'm saying, I'm in the relation building business. I'm not in the transactional business because if you have a strong relationships, transactions will happen automatically
Mm.
because you're building a trust relationship with people. And then you ask me a very good question like how to vet somebody who to invest with. Again, that's going to boil down to the relationship, what kind of relationship you have. It's going to take you time to build the relationship. Do that first before putting your money with somebody and then check their track record. So, track record is very cliche. Some people use that. Oh, I have this many deals, I have this many doors. And real estate, that's what people talk. I have 5,000 doors, I have 100,000 doors, and I have my this 20% IRR, 30% IRR. No, this goes beyond that if you wanted to vet that jockey or vet that operator, because you have to see what their trend is, regardless where they're coming from. They came from the corporate world, they came from the education world, or they came from real estate world, whatever. How they've been doing things throughout their life.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing things, you form certain patterns. The patterns not change that easily unless you decide to change yourself. Because whatever way you've been solving the problems throughout your life, whether you were in the corporate world or the academia world, that's how you're gonna do in the real estate world too, because you're not going to do anything different than that. So that's your true track record. So you have to see that how you've been solving the problems. Are you a problem creator or you stress when you see the problems, or you are at the problem solving end? Like for me, I'm always a problem solver. So if there's a problem, I just, what is the problem? Let me break down the problem, because what happened is like when we were in the corporate world, people used to say sometimes system is down, and that's my like favorite thing to discuss in my classroom too. When people say system is down, all of a sudden, if you're working for a bank, the whole bank didn't shut down. Not all the branches shut down. System, what exactly the problem is, break it down. When you start breaking down the problem, you'll figure out it's just like a little tiny little thing right there that needs your attention. And if you pay attention to fix that, problem is gone. So the operators or the syndicators who have that mindset, who are using that kind of approach, they're the strong people. They know exactly what to do if something happens. But the thing is, overall, if you're seeing somebody from 10 feet distance or trying to vet somebody, you won't know. That's the reason you wanted to form that relationship, talk to them over and over again, meet with them multiple times and different places, different scenarios, and see how they are responding. Are they responding or they're reacting? There's a difference between response and reaction too. Because a lot of people, when they hear something, they want you to talk right away. They want you to react at the situation. That might not be a right fit for you. So are you paying attention, close attention to the people who are just taking a little pause and they're responding to whatever you wanted to hear or to the situation, or they know exactly how to handle the situation, because that's how they're gonna be doing it in the real world too, or the investment opportunity too, whatever way their behavior pattern is,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know on my first deal, like, we didn't have anybody that experienced on that first deal. Here's one big red flag is when they have one guy on the team who has a ton of experience because he's signing on the loan and the lender's requiring that. That guy's not gonna be involved in running that deal. And on the pitch deck, they
Okay.
put him out there. Here's the experienced guy. He's done this for 20 years and all that. Ask how long it has been it since he's been actively managing deals. He's the grandpa of the group who's just there to make the bank happy. And I've seen it again and again when a deal gets in trouble. That guy is not coming in to bail it out. He doesn't have the systems in place. His network is no longer what it was. He may not have relevant experience anymore. He's there to sign on the loan. And new operators are putting him out there as if he's some sort of a risk or a safety guarantee. And I'm like, ignore the guy who's signing on the loan. He's not going to do anything. He's like an equity hound. He's there to get his equity, make the bank happy, and he's not going to help out. So that's one big thing. Have you seen that when newer operators are getting like that experience, that key partner in there? That key partner is typically not going to be involved in the deal. So you have to ask, like, how much experience is a person who's actually running it? The financial manager, the construction manager, and the leasing or the asset manager. How do you find out how much experience they have and just ignore the guy that they're putting out there as having the most experience? I'm like, that's a red flag to me if they're touting him as their
Not
experienced partner.
sure. That's it, true. I agree with you 100%. People do that. So that's the reason you want to find out who's going to be running the show, who's the real jockey. That's
Mhm.
everybody's kind of cheerleader, I would say, in the game.
Yeah, don't be relying on him, but we didn't have that guy at our first deal, and I noticed that almost all of our investors on our first deal that we did were very experienced investors, and so they felt like they could take some of their net worth, invest it with us because they believed in our character and our integrity, our intent, our plan, and they wanted to help develop us,
Mhm.
and they were the experienced ones in that
Mhm.
team. So my advice is if you're a brand new investor, don't invest with a new team. Somebody out there better know what they're doing, and in our case, it was our investors who knew what they were doing, and they are still teaching me, like, how to communicate. What do they wanna see? What's important to them? Like, how are we going to run this thing? They'll call us up and they'll ask us all sorts of questions, and often they know, especially at the beginning, they knew more about it than we did, and some of them were real mentors to us. New investors should not be investing with new operators. They were teaching us as part of their fulfillment and their social
Mhm.
mandate to help
Mhm.
some people get their business off the ground, but a new investor cannot do any of that. Not that a limited partner needs to be a mentor in any way, but for us, that was how it happened. And now new investors, I just tell them, just stay away from anybody who hasn't been doing this a really long time.
So do not fall for the shiny objects or the high returns. That's like
Yeah.
a shiny object. It's okay to get 1% less, but work with somebody who's reputable, who's strong, and knows exactly what they're doing. That's
Mhm.
very important. I don't make 1% less or 2% less. And I don't only like to invest in the deals who are like with the people who are really strong, who've been around for a while, and then who have done multiple exits. Because that
Yeah.
shows their pattern, like I was talking earlier, because people follow certain patterns and they're going to keep on repeating that in different scenarios, the same patterns over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's very important. That's the reason we always say relationship building is must in this space where we are.
I love how you say that you're a relationship when you build relationships, transactions naturally happen because capital raising is at its core relationship, but then that second layer wrapped around it is sales. And so it can be very difficult for your average capital raiser. And most of us do not have a sales background. Like I haven't talked to a single capital raiser who was like, oh, well, I was in corporate sales for many years and I know all the
Well,
things to get people to part with their money. I don't know. Maybe I probably know a few. But their avatar is other sales professionals who can see right through all that stuff. And so people have a tendency to talk to who they talked to during their previous career, like maybe your avatar is like other IT or technical engineering professionals. And the sales execs who turned capital raiser really are focusing on other sales execs. And so from that sales aspect of it, and the relationship building aspect of it. Like, how do you see those two things merging as you're building a relationship? But at the bottom of it, it's a business relationship where transactions should be happening at some stage of the game.
This is a really good question. And then I will not say it's like a really fine line, but there is a fine line because you don't want it to come as too salesy. Somebody told me, a good friend long time back, he said that you will trust your neighbors, your friends with your kids, but you would not trust anybody with
So
$10
true.
or money. And
So
that was like,
true.
man. So that tells you, that you have to build a relationship with people in order to have that trust for them so they are willing to invest with you or in your deals, right? And for that, you don't have to come as a salesy day one. First, you have to build a relationship. They're going to see your track record. You have to create that space for yourself where you have to position yourself in a way that you come as a thought leader or you come as a very strong person, whatever you're doing. So they're saying you're doing things. So they are attracted towards you. I'm going to share a very good thing over here. I learned this very early on. And then a bunch of Indian leaders, they say that all the time, that focus on your efforts, focus on whatever you wanted to do. And then the money, it's byproduct of your efforts. You do not chase money. Like I say, I do not chase money. I chase relationships. I chase my efforts. And then I rather money chase me for that. And that's what exactly happens. And then if you're chasing money and whatever you chase is going to go farther away from you. We know that, right? That's the name of the game, anyways. So
Mhm.
I believe in building strong relationships and I wanted to give that trust space to my investors or the people in my nexus or in my network. So whenever they're ready, they will come to me. They will know exactly where to go, what they're looking for. They can come to me. I can give them that much liberty or freedom. They can tell me that they can come and tell me, okay, I have this much money now. I'm looking for this kind of deal.
Yeah.
So then on the other side, you're building relationships with the other sponsors, the operators in your network. You should have enough bandwidth that you're matching the deals, that
Mhm.
who wants what kind of things in scenario.
Do you see in that role as somebody that is going to be the first line of contact for investor relations? I see myself as the least important person in the room. The analogy I often give is I used to play the piano for a children's choir. It was a big choir. So they were standing there singing, and I was not really visible because I was behind them. And I played for that children's choir like 4 or 5 years. And then one day somebody asked me to accompany them in a solo. And so
Mhm.
afterwards, somebody came up to me and said, Emma, I didn't even know you played the piano.
Mhm.
I'm like, the piano is like background music, and they're the least important person in that room. And I see that accompanist role in music as the same role that I take in capital raising. I'm the least important person in that room. The investors with the money putting into the deal, they have the money that's going to make this deal go around. And then the operator is the one who's running it. But I'm just almost like the matchmaker. And people are coming to me saying, what's going on? Or what's this? Or what's that? And I just don't see myself as very important in that role. I'm just introducing people.
Yeah, but the thing is, here's again the mindset shift over here because you wanted to live in that mindset because you are as important as the sponsor or as the investor. Because even you call yourself matchmaker, but the thing is, the investor does not have the time to find the right deal or the right investment opportunity. So you're doing all the legwork.
Mhm.
You're working closely with all the other partners or finding the right deal or right investment that's going to fit your investor, right? So you're doing all the legwork for them. Why? What would make you think that you're not important? You're the most important person for them because you are their extension for the investor's extension, right? Because you're finding the right fit for them. Now let's take the other scenario. Let's say some sponsor, they found the deal, they got the deal under contract. So what they need now, they need money. So basically there's the three things in the deal. There's a deal, there's a money, and the person who's going to run the deal. So now the deal cannot go to the completion until unless they have the right amount of money on the table, right? For that, they need the partners. So they reach out to you. Hey, Emma, do you have anybody in your network, your investors looking for it? So now you're doing the whole 9 yards, the due diligence, on the sponsor or your partner to figure out if this is the right fit for you to bring your investors in. Again, you're doing a lot of network. So you're the most important person in the middle. So why would you think that you're not important? You're not in the back seat. It's a
let's
you're always in the driver's seat. Whatever
yeah,
way you look at it.
let's reframe this a little bit. Let's instead imagine there's only one person there playing the piano. They can hear it, and there's only one
Mhm.
person doing that. So let's look at it this way. As capital raisers, no deal's getting done unless they can find the money. I feel like I can run a 30 unit deal or a 350 unit deal is
Uh-huh.
about the same amount of effort and
Uh-huh.
knowledge and all of that. And it's not harder for me to run a bigger deal than it is to run a smaller deal. The harder part of doing the bigger deals is finding enough money to do it. And capital raisers become very important. A lot of people can find deals, a lot of people can run deals, actually, and a lot of people have money. But the person who goes out and finds the money, that is to me the missing link and the most desired thing. Again and again, when I'm trying to get into a partnership, they're like, can you raise money? Can you raise money? Can you raise asking that over and over again? And so in that sense, you're the most important person in the room because no deal's getting done without any money. And when you look at it that way, because capital raisers are so in demand, we have a lot of options to raise capital. And the good
Uh-huh.
capital raisers know how to vet the operator, they know how to vet the deal, they know how to do their own underwriting, and they have so many options. People come
Uh-huh.
to me asking me to raise money for their deals. I almost every day I get requests. And I feel like, no, I'm
What?
very picky. So sometimes I feel like the capital raiser on the deal is almost like a signal saying if an experienced capital raiser, not a newbie who doesn't know what they're doing, but an experienced capital raiser is going to raise money for this group, what does that person know that I don't know? And it almost lends credibility when the experienced capital raiser says, I could choose from hundreds of different deals to raise for, but I chose this one and here's why. Do you see that? And maybe as
Yeah, well, you're right about that. I do see that. And then again, it boils down to number one, the relationship. And the other thing is the how solid they are. Because the thing is, as you evolve as a capital raiser, or that's the terminology you're using, but I think you're more than capital raiser in every deal. You're a general partner because you're doing much more than just
yeah.
raising capital. Otherwise, you shouldn't be getting paid if you're on a deal just as just bringing capital on the table.
Oh, I
Because
have a
you're
fun. Have a fun, y'all. This is not legal, financial, or other advice.
That's
So keep going,
a
keep going.
red disclaimer right there. We're just chit-chatting over here. And then I even lost the train
Sorry,
of
I
thought.
derailed you. Yeah, I still am a GP on the deals we do because the way we structure our fund, we're required to be GPs in deals where we bring money in. So yeah, we're doing
Right.
more than just raising capital.
Exactly. So you were doing more than raising capital. So you were like a general partner in the deal,
Mhm,
depending
mhm.
upon the role. And you're as important as anybody else in the deal. And the thing is, like you were saying earlier, you're talking about already capital raising, it's just a skill that a lot of people might not understand or know whatever, or they're not good at it. That's the reason they wanted to partner with you. Because the thing is, if you're in the acquisition, everybody's good at something, right? You could
Yeah,
be at acquisition, you might not be good at capital raising. You're not good at building relationship with people, but you're really good and smart in acquisition. So there's a right partner for you because it's a complementary skills. And the question was, you were asking me how to know who to invest with. So that again boils down to the relationship that I was telling you. And the other thing is because as you evolve as a coach, EP, or a capital raiser, or whatever terminology we wanted to use, you're learning every day in, out, you're learning every day. And every day your scenarios is like more amplified, just getting better. And you feel like, okay, I can trust this person more now. It just checks more boxes for me. And that's why you're gonna decide, okay, maybe let me work with this person now because you're in a spiral kind of mode. So you're going up a notch. And accordingly, you're deciding your strategic partners as well, who you wanted to work with. So it's not like that. It's not going to be at the level of the beginner. When you're starting your journey, it's just like basically, okay, let me invest with this, let me try this, let me try that. So you're
yeah.
not, or you're done your trial mode, right? So now you have multiple options. And then here the relationship is going to play a really big role because this is going to be really strategic partnerships that you're going to be building as you're going to be evolving or just going up in the spring.
Yeah, and I think that you just described yourself. You're one of the people that I know that I could talk about really anything. I could come to you, we could talk about religion, politics, we could talk about psychology, death, just the sheer number of things that we can discuss. That's part of building a relationship, and it builds so much authenticity because you've been very transparent with me over the course of our relationship by being able to talk business and talk shop, but then we can talk about so many other things, and I feel like you reveal who you are, and that's what people should be looking for when they're just trying to decide which capital raisers do I want to invest with, because you're putting your money with a capital raiser, that's the personality of the face, and trusting that capital raiser knows how to pick good jockeys. We're almost like the what do you call it in sports betting, where the person who creates the odds, like, I don't know anything about sports betting, but there's somebody there who looks at all the horses or all the teams and decides,
Right.
like, who's most likely to win, and they give them odds, and because they know a lot about the topic, and then they're the ones there helping the bettors who may not know as much to be able to
Um,
pick, "Okay, this one has odds to win, and that one, if it wins, it'll win a lot of money, but I wanna be safer over here," and then they decide where they're that's more like what we are, where we're just vetting opportunities and giving our stamp of approval on it when we're like, "I'm putting my own money in this deal. I'm raising money for this deal.
uh-huh.
And you can
Uh-huh.
trust me because we can talk about politics and religion and death and business and all of the things." And you do really embody that relationship building
Thank
and
you.
that you really care about people.
Thank you. I think it's very important. And then I was talking to my brother the other day. This is so funny. A couple days back, it's my nephew's birthday, and then he ordered food, went to get food or something. And
Mhm.
then we were ordering so many different things. He was like ordering like 20 things. I'm like, we're like four people, five people. We do not need that many things. So I just cut down to a few and just got. And then he's, as we're walking out, and he's, oh my God, you're super smart. This is enough. And we got home, we had dinner, and we still had a lot leftovers. That was such a smart move, Vinky. I'm like, yeah, I just bring all the good things on the table. He's like, that's what you do to your investors too. I say, yeah, that's what exactly I do to my investors too, because I just don't give them the fluff. I just show them the like real picture. I cannot tell them, okay, do this. This is much better than doing that. And maybe that's the reason I'm building that trust relationship with them. It's
Mhm.
not about me making the money. It's about them. It's for me, it's like how to make them money. I know it's my fiduciary responsibility when I take the money, but at the same time, my goal is, my focal point is how are they gonna be benefited more? How are they gonna make the most money? And how they can put their money to work the best possible way.
Mhm. Yeah, I like to work with investors who recognize that they want to incentivize me, the other general partners, to work
Mhm.
really hard. And
Right.
they want us to get paid. Because
Right.
if somebody's running the thing and they're really not getting paid that well, it's feeding the investors well, but it's not feeding the managers well. The managers are disincentivized and it creates sloppiness. And the best managers have multiple deals and they have systems going. So if one deal is not as great as they were hoping and they're not really getting paid that much, they still have it plugged into their system and they're still going to do their best to do it. But what I've noticed a lot is more inexperienced managers, if they're not getting paid well, they tend to take their eye off the ball a little bit. So investors, they what one question that I always have my investors asking if they're not asking it is ask how we get paid. I want to make this revenue model completely transparent because I want you to see the motivation structures that are built into this deal so that these managers deliver on your behalf because when they deliver on your behalf, then they are going to make money. So it's just like what you just said. When the investor makes money, I want investors who are then happy to say, and you guys made money.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's how this whole thing should work. Everybody should be motivated for the success of the deal, which then creates success for the people living and working in those properties.
That's so true. I like that. I mean, that everybody works for money by the end of the day. Everybody needs to get paid. And as long as you have the clarity between you and your investors, and then you show them exactly how it's going to work, and they are okay with it, there's no issues. I
Mhm.
don't like the hidden structures either. I like very clean waterfalls. I'm very transparent. I'm a black and white person. I know there's always a lot of gray, but I like to be black and white. And that's the way I like it with my investors too and my
Mm.
partners too.
Yeah.
And I just go over and over the same thing, maybe a couple of times, maybe three times, four times, until it's just like crystal clear. Okay, that's the way it's gonna work. And that's the way we just follow all along to
Yeah.
our till the completion of the project.
So you gotta keep it pretty straight because this is not what they do for a living. But because this fund is aimed at institutional investors who do this for a living, we can get very complicated and nuanced with the structure and they understand it because this is what they do. And that was a really important lesson for me to know your audience and to be able to understand like what level of complexity should this deal be taking on. And for a retail investor, if you're going in a deal where the ownership structure or the waterfall is very complicated, that just doesn't build trust. Institutional investors can handle that because they know how it works. But retail investors, it's another red flag that's, I don't know if they're trying to pull one over on me, but I don't quite understand what's going on here. So I'll just pass.
That's so true. And the confused investor will never invest. You
Hmm.
never want to confuse your investors. That's the number one thing. And if they don't understand anything, you just want to do extra mile and make them understand where you're coming from. It has to be crystal clear. If you confuse your investor, goodbye. They're not going to come
Yep.
back because
Yep.
you lose the investor. You lose that trust at that time. You don't want it to confuse them.
So, Vinky, how do people get a hold of you? And I always ask, describe the person who would be best served by getting a hold of you after the show.
Thank you for asking me. And yes, I would love to connect with anyone and everyone. Like I said, we're an organization. I love to add value to other lives around me. And I'm all over the social media. But besides that, you can go to my website, lumbainvest.com, and you can download my ebook, Syndication Secrets Unlocked. And that's the best way to connect with me. And then I look forward to connecting with you and see if I can help you in any regards.
Thank you so much, Vinky. I really encourage you to reach out to her because she has definitely been a blessing in my life and a steadying force. So, this relationship building that we do, this industry is very collaborative. Again, you go to big deals, you need to raise a lot of money to do this. And so, it's a lot of people coming together. And so, that spirit of collaboration and cooperation, like people get a reputation in the industry if they're short term thinkers or long term thinkers. And Vinky, you definitely have a reputation as a long term thinker. So, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. And I'm looking forward to having you on again in the future and diving even deeper into some of the weird and esoteric stuff that we like to get talking about.
Thank you so much, Emma. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. And for those of you who are listening and want to connect with me after the show, just go to investwithemma.com. It's where I talk to all of the people who have any kinds of questions. I've interviewed so many people on the show right now. If I can't help you with something, I probably know somebody who can and get you down that chain of people that you need to be able to get done what you need to get done. We'd love to have you come join our free Monday night club at riseclubcapital.com, where we just look at these kinds of deals, like all the stuff that Vicky and I were talking about. If it sounds like Greek to you, jump in. These are real deals that we're looking at investing in with our own fund. And so we're getting deep in the nitty gritty and figuring out, do we want to invest with this person with this deal or not? And we just open it up to the public. Riseclubcapital.com would love to see you there. So until next week, and we have our next story on how to have more passive income adventures, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.